Okay, let's go to Numbers 13:1.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Send me to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. Send me one man from each tribe of their fathers, every one a leader among them. And by the command of Yahweh, Moshe sent them from the wilderness of Paran, all of them men who were heads of the children of Israel. These were the names from the tribe of Reuben: Shuma, son of Zachar; from the tribe of Shimon, Shaphat, son of Hori; from the tribe of Yehuda, Caleb, son of Jephunneh; and the tribe of Issachar, Yagel, son of Joseph; from the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea, son of Nun; from the tribe of Benjamin, Paltai, son of Raphu; from the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, son of Zodai; from the tribe of Joseph; from the tribe of Manasseh, Gadai, son of Susai; from the tribe of Dan, Amiel, son of Gemiel; from the tribe of Asher, Shetar, son of Machel; from the tribe of Naphtali, Nabai, son of Wupshi; from the tribe of Gad, Geuel, son of Machai. These are the names of the men whom Moshe sent to spy out the land. And Moshe called Hoshea, son of Nun, Yehoshua. And Moshe sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said to them, Go up there to the Negeb, and go up to the mountains, and see what the land is like, and the people who dwell in it, whether strong or weak, whether few, many, and whether the land they dwell in is good or evil, whether the cities they inhabit are the camps or strongholds, and whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are forests or not. And you shall be strong, and bring some of the fruit of the land. Now the time of the season was the first fruits of grapes. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, near the entrance of Hamath. And they went up through the Negeb and came to Hebron, and Iman, Shishai, Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were there. Now Hebron had been built 7 years before Zoan in Mizraim, and they came to the valley Eshcol, and cut down from there a branch with a cluster of grapes, and they bore it between 2 of them on a pole, also of the pomegranates and of figs. That place was called the valley Eshcol, because of the cluster which the man of Israel cut down from there. And they returned from spying out the land after 40 days, and they went and came to Moshe and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. And they brought back word to them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they reported to him and said, We went to the land where you sent us, and truly it flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. But the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are walled very great. And we saw the descendants of Anak there too. And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the Negeb, while the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea, and along the banks of the Jordan. And Caleb silenced the people before Moshe and said, Let us go up at once, take possession, for we are certainly able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, "We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we." And they gave the children of Israel an evil report in the land which they spied out, saying, "The land, though which we had gone as spies, is a land eating up its inhabitants, and all the people and all whom we saw in it are men of great size. And we saw there the Nephilim of Anak and the Nephilim, and we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so were we in their eyes."
You know, I read this many times in the past, and when I'm saying past, I'm talking about far past. When I read it, I just did not understand how these people could possibly be so worried about going up. But we have to understand, we look here, we have men here that's 6 foot tall. I'm not one of them, but we have men that's 6 foot tall. And according to them, the descendants of Anak, they would be midgets. The descendants of Anak could have been as much as 14, 15 foot tall. Now you imagine a whole group of those people that size, and you of an average size going up against them. You've got to be able to overcome the circumstances. Your faith has to overcome the circumstances. And I see in this generation how much people struggle with their faith getting past the circumstances. We have to struggle many times to get past the circumstances, what we see, and hold on to the faith that the Father is much able to carry us through. And you imagine looking at a multitude of people that were from 10 to 15 foot tall. Man, you'd have a lot of opportunity to say, "Hey, we're like grasshoppers. They can step on us and squash us." Now, obviously, what they did was evil because they gave an evil report and they did not trust the Father to bring them through. But I certainly have a better understanding of how they let the circumstances overrule their faith in what Almighty Yahweh had done and was going to do for them. Now, there's been a big cover-up in this nation, but among the Indians in this nation, they were giants, and they have found remains of peoples that were between 10 and 16 foot tall. The government has tried to cover that up. The bones of many of those giants that were Indians talked about, many of them were carried out in a barge and dumped in the sea to keep from having to acknowledge that they actually existed. But it has come out in the recent past that those giants that the Indians talked about, that we were told that was just myth, Indian mythology, was not actually Indian mythology, that there were giants that actually killed the Native American and ate him. They were man-eaters. And I mean, that's just blew me away when I understood that there were actually giants in this land that were eating the flesh of other people. And actually, I guess, the Native American, like they would hunt an animal, capture them, kill them, eat them. And finally, the Native Americans come together and conquered most of them. But there's one big mound. I can't remember now what state it was in. One big mound that they surrounded and made a protected area. Well, that's an Indian mound that they suspect houses lots of those bones, lots of graves of the Nephilim and the giants. So these accounts of giants in there, they're not that far off. You know, we've got evidence today to prove that these things actually existed. That this is not just something that was in the biblical time. That it was actually in the time of this nation. Anybody? Go ahead.
Verse 33, and we saw the Nephilim, sons of Anak, of the Nephilim, and we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so were we in their eyes. So how we see ourselves is how other people see us.
Yes.
If we see ourselves weak and defeated, people see us as weak and defeated. If we see ourselves as walking with the Father is walking with us, and people see that, and they take note.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, and the evil report, it may not have been a lie, right? But like the evil is usually in the context of Hebrew is taking something and misusing it, or not trusting. Like right. When Peter was in the boat, and then Yeshua called him out, he started looking at the circumstances,
right,
the waves, and that faltered his faith, and he started sinking. And so this is what I kind of see them doing. They're looking at their circumstances. They're looking at that, and they're like, well, Yahuwah has given you the victory, and he's prophesied the destruction of the Nephilim. And he already killed them once in the flood. And then these are just their descendants.
Yes.
So
very much so.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most difficult things for us today in this world as we travel through this world, our daily lives, is seeing ourselves with the possibilities that the Father has placed before us. This is what they did not see. They did not see the possibilities of the victory that the Father was giving them over these people. They did not see themselves as the Father saw them. We need to see ourselves as the Father sees us, good or bad. We need to see ourselves as the Father sees us, and then we can have faith in that area. But as long as we're looking at ourselves with our physical limitations and our circumstances around us, we're going to be constantly struggling to overcome, because the Father moves by faith. Go ahead.
Even more than that, the Father doesn't choose to use people that are equipped how the world thinks they should be, how they think they should be.
Right.
Just like this story, you look at David and Goliath. There's plenty of men of battle sitting there that should have taken it, that could have. But instead, it's the shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Moses and the speech issues.
Yes.
He says, I can't speak. you know. But that's who the Father chooses. It echoes into our faith in Him to provide for His will. That's what we need to focus on, not on what that giant ahead of us is. But if it is of His will, He will provide. And He will do it in a way that glorifies Him and can only be to His glory.
And not let our physical limitations determine our steps. Because the Father is able to do all things to us. If the Father's spoken to us, He's able to bring it to pass. And we've always got one final assurance that if He don't bring it to pass on earth, He will keep us alive in eternity if we obey Him. They can't take our life. No matter what it is, they can't take our life. They can rob us of our physical life, but they can't rob us of our life. Our life is hidden in Him. Anybody? Go ahead.
Going along with Craig and John's comments, when I was reading through this week, I noticed when the 10 are giving the evil report in 27 and 28, they say the truth, kind of as John mentioned there. We went to the land where you sent us, and truly it flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit, showing that huge cluster of grapes. But then they say, but the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are walled, very great. And we saw the descendants of Anak there too. And it brought to mind this series that a pastor gave a long time ago when I was real young. But it was entitled But God. But when we look at the times in the scripture where it says, but Elohim, but Yah, because there's some really powerful instances, because we're looking at the rough circumstances around us, like Peter in the boat, and we see the waves and the wind and the chaos and destruction, or the high mountain, or whatever it is, and we see it, but then we say, but Yah, and we have that total different perspective. But these people flipped it, and they said, here is what the Father said. It's flowing. It's good. It's really good to our eyes. He's right. Like what He said is true. It's flowing with milk and honey. And instead of saying, and our Father's going to bring it in, they said, but the people. But, so they then put more emphasis on the hardships of it. Even though it's really good, our Father's not going to get us through, or whatever their vantage point was, that. But their focus. So just what we're walking in, and whatever our circumstances look around us, whether they are the milk and honey and the Father is working, or it's tough and it's rough and it's perilous, and we say, but Yah can do it. But Yah can get us through. When I was looking, I don't recall the exact scriptures that this pastor used a long time ago, but I was looking at just a couple, just with a quick search. And like Joseph, when he is talking to Pharaoh about the dreams, Genesis 41:16, he says, I cannot do it, Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but Elohim will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. And then in Genesis 50, it's also Joseph talking to his brothers, 50 verse 20, you intended to harm me, but Elohim intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. And then David says it in Psalms. I assume it's David. Sorry, I didn't read the whole chapter, but assuming it's David in Psalm 73:26. My flesh and my heart may fail, but Elohim is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Yes. So just, you can search and you can find countless counted, but a whole bunch of times where the scriptures and standing in faith, Joseph, David, some of the others, I remember some of the series being in like the other kings or something, and just walking through, and if we're in a really difficult situation, we got to go back. Remember, read back through those times where other people said that too. I'm facing hardship, but my Father can get me through.
Yeah.
And just to remind ourselves to put that before our eyes, and even just to say it, to write it out, to do whatever it is to remind ourselves for that. And if he doesn't, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we know he can. Yeah, I do love that story too. We will still, yes.
Yeah, we need to understand that Caleb and Joshua had a different spirit. The Father said they got a different spirit. We have an opportunity to choose what spirit we entertain. That's the choice that the Father's given us. We can entertain a spirit of doubt and mistrust, which most of the Israelites had at the time, because they constantly said from the time they left Egypt, He brought us out here to die. Kill us and our children, where there's no graves. And that was where their confidence was. That's the spirit they had, that spirit of doubt and distrust, that the Father was against them and not for them. And I think that's happens much today in this generation, that people don't really expect the Father to deliver them. Anybody? Go ahead.
And this is not like they'd never seen the Father work in miraculous ways, because these are the original people that come out of Egypt. So they seen all the plagues the Father did in Egypt, all the works He did in Egypt, and brought them through the Red Sea. So it's not like they hadn't seen His strength, His protection before. It's just, we look at the circumstances and we forget all the victories that are behind us.
Yeah. And not only that, the column of fire and the column of smoke that they saw.
Every day.
Every day. To know that Yah was with them. Yeah, it's, I tell you, I think people minimize our tendency to look at the circumstances and let the circumstances overwhelm us. And when I say that, I'm not talking about maybe us particularly or anyone, but I'm talking about this generation, period. And I think we are tempted sometimes to get caught up at looking at circumstances rather than the promises. Anybody? All right, let's go on to 14.
Then all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and against Aaron. And all the congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Mizraim, or if we only had died in the wilderness. And why is Yahweh bringing us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become prey? Would it not be better for us to turn back to Mizraim? And they said to each other, let us appoint a leader and let us turn back to Mizraim. Then Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces before the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Yehoshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jehunaph, who were among those who spied out the land, tore their garments, and they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, the land we passed through to spy out is exceedingly good land. If Yahweh has delighted in us, then He shall bring us into this land and give it to us, the land which is flowing with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against Yahweh, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their defense has turned away from them, and Yahweh is with us. Do not fear them. But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Then the steam of Yahweh appeared at the tent of appointment before the children of Israel. And Yahweh said to Moshe, How long shall I be scorned by these people, and how long shall I not be trusted by them with all the signs which I have done in their midst? Let me smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and make you a nation greater and mightier than they. And Moshe said to Yahweh, Then the Mizrahites shall hear it, for by your power you brought these people from their midst, and they shall say to the inhabitants of this land that they have heard that you, Yahweh, are in the midst of these people, that you, Yahweh, are seen eye to eye, and that your cloud stands above them, and you go before them in a column of cloud by day and a column of fire by night. Now, if you shall kill these people as one man, then the nations which have heard of your report shall speak, saying, Because Yahweh was not able to bring this people to the land which he swore to give them, therefore he killed them in the wilderness. And now, I pray, let the power of Yahweh be great, as you have spoken, saying, Yahweh is patient and great kindness, forgiving wickedness and transgressions, but by no means leaving unpunished, visiting the wickedness of the fathers on the children of the third and fourth generations. Please forgive the wickedness of this people according to the greatness of your kindness, as you have forgiven this people from Mizraim even until now. And Yahweh said, I will forgive according to your word, but truly, as I live, and all the earth is filled with the esteem of Yahweh, for none of these men who have seen my esteem and the signs which I did in Mizraim and in the wilderness, and have tried me now these 10 times, and have disobeyed my voice, shall see the land which I swore to their fathers, nor any of those who scorned me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit in him, and followed me completely, I shall give into the land where he went, and his seed shall inherit it. Since the Amalekites and the Canaanites are dwelling in the valley, turn back tomorrow and depart into the wilderness by the way of the Sea of Reeds. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, How long shall this evil congregation have this grumbling against me? I have heard the grumblings which the children of Israel are grumbling against me. Say to them, As I live, declares Yahweh, as you have spoken in my hearing, so I do to you. The carcasses of those of you who have grumbled against me are going to fall into the wilderness, all of you who were registered according to the entire number, from 20 years old and above. None of you except Caleb, son of Unipha, and Yahushua, son of Nun, shall enter the land which I swore I would make you to dwell in. But your little ones, whom you said would become prey, I shall bring in, and they shall know the land which you have rejected. But as for you, your carcasses are going to fall into the wilderness, and your sons shall be wanderers in the wilderness 40 years, and shall bear your whorings until the carcasses are consumed in the wilderness, according to the number of the days in which you have spied out the land, 40 days, a day for a year, a day for a year. You are to bear your wickedness 40 years, and you shall know my breaking off. I am Yahweh, I have spoken. I shall do this to all the congregation who are meeting against me. in this wilderness, they are consumed and they die. And the men whom Moshe sent to spy out the land, who returned and made all the congregation grumble against him by bringing an evil report of the land, even those men who brought the evil report about the land died by the plague before Yahweh. And those men who went to spy out the land, only Yehoshua son of Nun and Caleb son of Unaphanah remain alive. And when Moshe spoke these words to all the children of Israel, the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning and went up to the top of the mountain, saying, See, we have indeed sinned, but we shall go up to the place which Yahweh had spoken of. But Moshe said, Why do you now transgress the command of Yahweh, since it does not prosper? Do not go up, lest you be smitten by your enemies, for Yahweh is not in your midst, because the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you have turned away from Yahweh. Yahweh is not with you. But they presumed to go up to the mountaintop, but neither the ark of the covenant of Yahweh nor Moshe left the camp. So the Amalekites and the Canaanites who dwelt in the mountain came down and smote them and beat them down, even to Hormah.
Anybody? I look at this and I see the motivation of these people. Stop and evaluate what motivated them. When Yahweh told them to go in and possess the land, they let fear stop them. But when they realized that they were losing riches over it because they didn't go in, guess what? Then they wanted to go in. Even though the father said don't go, they wanted to go in. Once the money or the riches got involved, they wanted to go in, because they understood now that the father was going to not let them not be with them when they went in because of this and what they had forfeited, and now they're going to try to recover it. They were motivated by gain. And I think so many times in this generation that people are motivated more by gain than they are by a desire to please Almighty Yahweh and all they do and say. I think that motivation is still among humanity today, and I think we have to guard against it. I see it today even in the traditional church, how they're motivated many times in their practices, in their programs, and their plans by how much money it will bring in. I've heard pastors say, well, that's that ministry won't work. It won't pay for itself. My goodness. Is that supposed to be our deciding point, whether it will bring money in or not? I don't think so. But the whole point is if the Father's in it, He will supply. He will supply our needs according to His riches in glory. He may not supply our wants, but He will supply our needs. And we need to understand that we need to be motivated by the desire and the will to please the Father more than we are by finances. And that's pretty difficult sometimes in a world that is motivated by finances and riches. Many times in this generation, your worth is considered by how much you have in the bank and not how much you have in your heart. We need to guard ourselves to not get caught up in the world. We are in the world, but we're not of it. And we have to guard ourselves to keep from getting caught up in the things of this world. Anybody? Go ahead.
You was talking about their motivation of greed, and also on the backside of that is we're going to have to stay in this desert another 40 years.
Yeah.
We're going to have to eat this manna.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of motivation both sides of that.
Right.
You know, and yeah, I could see them, but they want to go when the Father's hand is not upon them.
That's right.
And Moses even pointed that out to them. The Father's not with you now. Why do you want to go?
Yeah.
But it's their stinking pride that drove them on to their death.
Yeah. It's a strong force in our carnal mind. The Word tells us that our carnal mind, our natural mind, is at enmity with Almighty Yahweh. It does not want to do what the Father wants us to do. We have a tendency to have a wandering eye. You know, and that's not good. Anybody? Go ahead.
That next verse after Craig was recapping there, I think 43 is where he says, because you have turned away from Yahuwah, Yahuwah is not with you. And then 44 says, but they presumed to go up to the mountaintop, but neither the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah nor Moshe left the camp. Yeah. And I just like the picture of that. I mean, again, you're talking about they've been seeing the cloud by day, the fire by night, and they decide, oh yeah, I don't want to be out here for another 40 years. I don't want to die in this wilderness. And so they go up, and I just wonder, did anyone look back and they're like, it's not coming. We're moving ahead of it. But it brought back just a couple of chapters earlier in 9:23, the last verse of 9, when it's talking earlier about the cloud. And it says, at the mouth of Yahuwah they camped, and at the mouth of Yahuwah they departed. They guarded the charge of Yahuwah at the mouth, of Yahuwah by the hand of Moshe. Mm-hmm. And so just that stark contrast. And I wonder if 9:23 was maybe written later, and this was a lesson learned for all the rest and for the children. And in that 40 years, or if in that first year they did it well, right. Because it says in 9:22, whether 2 days or a month or a year, the cloud, then they followed it, and it's only been a year, I think, maybe a year and a half in this time frame, and so there's not a lot of time, for them to have. If it said or a year's time, there's not that much time that a year has a chance. So maybe it's kind of post-written saying this was a lesson learned, that we went up when the ark didn't go, Moshe didn't go, the cloud didn't move, and we were out of line. Right. And clearly they paid the severe price, and then later for the whole generation. But
anybody?
That's actually Rachel explaining that. It was the first time I've caught that. So they still had the cloud and the column with them at that point. Could you imagine being in one of the cities, even if you had giants, and you had this pillar of fire coming at you? That right there would have put fear into anybody.
Yeah.
So their disobedience made it harder for their kids to go, because they didn't get that.
That's right. Anybody? All right, let's go on to 15 then.
And Yahweh said to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When ye have come up into the land of your dwellings, which I am giving you, and you make an offering by fire to Yahweh, a burnt offering, or a slaughtering, to accomplish a vow, or a voluntary offering, or in your appointed times, to make a sweet fragrance to Yahweh from the herd or the flock, and he who brings near his offering to Yahweh shall bring near a grain offering of 1/10 part of fine flour mixed with 1/4 of a hin of oil, and 1/4 a hin of wine. As a drink offering you prepare with the burnt offering or the slaughtering for each lamb. Or for the ram you prepare as a grain offering 2/10 parts fine flour mixed with 1/3 of a hin of oil. And as a drink offering you bring 1/3 of a hin of wine as a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. And when you prepare a young bull as a burnt offering, or as a slaughtering to accomplish a vow, or as a peace offering to Yahweh, then shall be brought with the young bull a grain offering 3/10 parts fine flour mixed a half hin of oil, and bring as a drink offering half a hin of wine as an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. This is what is done for each young bull, for each ram, for each lamb or young goat, according to the number that you prepare, so you do for each one according to their number. Let all who are native do so with them, in bringing near an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. And when a stranger sojourns with you, or whoever is among you throughout your generations, and would make an offering made by fire, a sweet fragrance to Yahweh, as you do, so he does. One law is for you of the assembly, for the stranger who sojourns with you, a law forever throughout your generations, as are you, so is the stranger before Yahweh. One Torah, one right ruling is for you, and for the stranger who sojourns with you. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When you come into the land to which I bring you, then it shall be, when you eat of the bread of the land, that you present a contribution to Yahweh. Present a cake of the first of your dough as a contribution of your threshing floor you present it. Of the first of your dough you are to give to Yahweh a contribution throughout your generations. And when you sin by mistake and do not do all these commands which Yahweh has spoken to Moshe, all that Yahweh has commanded you by the hand of Moshe, and by the day, from that day Yahweh gave command, and onward throughout your generations, then it shall be, if it is done by mistake without the knowledge of the congregation, that all the congregation shall prepare one young bull as a burnt offering, as a sweet fragrance to Yahweh, with its grain offering and its drink offering according to the right ruling, and one male goat as a sin offering. Then the Cohen shall make atonement for the congregation of the children of Israel, and it shall be forgiven them, for it was by mistake, and they shall bring their offering, an offering made by fire to Yahweh, and their sin offering before Yahweh for their mistake, and it shall be forgiven all the congregation of the children of Israel, and the stranger who sojourns in their midst, because all the people did it by mistake. And if a being sins by mistake, then he shall bring a female goat a year old as a sin offering, and the Cohen shall make atonement for the being who strays by mistake, when he sins by mistake, before Yahweh, to make atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. For him who makes a mistake there is one Torah, both for him and the native among the children of Israel, and for the strangers who sojourns in their midst. And the being who acts defiantly, whether he is native or stranger, he reviles Yahweh, and that being shall be cut off from among his people, because he has despised the word of Yahweh, and has broken his command. That being shall be certainly cut off. His wickedness is upon him. And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day. And those who found him gathering sticks brought him to Moshe and to Aaron, to all the congregation, and they put him under the guard, because it had not been declared what should be done to him. And Yahweh said to Moshe, the man shall certainly be put to death. All the congregation stoning him with stones outside the camp. And all the congregation brought him outside the camp and stoned him with stones, as Yahweh commanded Moshe, and he died. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, and say to them to make tzitzits on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and to put a blue cord in the tzitzit of the corners, and it shall be for you as a tzitzit, and you shall see it, and shall remember the commands of Yahweh, and shall do them, and not search after your own heart, and after your own eyes, after which you went whoring, so that you remember you shall do all my commands, and be kodesh unto your almighty sovereign. I am Yahweh, your almighty sovereign, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim, to be your almighty sovereign. I am Yahweh, your almighty sovereign.
Anybody? I think if we look at this, we understand how much the Father treasures his Sabbath. This man was gathering sticks, maybe to cook, to heat, and maybe that's what he did and sold the sticks. Maybe that's what he did for a living. I don't know. Maybe he gathered it for, to make money. But he was gathering sticks. It don't seem like a big thing, but it's not the picking up of the sticks that was bad. It was the disobedience to the Father that was bad. When we violate the Sabbath, it's not the violation of the Sabbath that gets us. It's the violation of the Father's word, the disobedience to the Father. Transgression of the law is sin. And we need to take a closer look at sin. I think this generation needs to take a closer look at sin. I think sin is too much minimized. Yeshua came to take away the sins of the world. Yes, he did. But what does it say? Shall we continue in sin that grace more abounds? Yahweh forbids it. And the Father says, or John said, that if we say we know him and we transgress his laws, we're a liar, and the truth is not in us. And Yeshua said, the many will come to me and say, Master, Master, have we not done many wonderful works in your name? And he will say to them, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. Workers of iniquity is sin, lawless ones. And one of the places it's translated lawless ones. So we need to understand that I think we need to pay more attention to what the Father has spoken in his commands. I think it's been far too minimized by the traditional church. Far too minimized. The law's done away with as far as they're concerned. The law has not been done away with. It's not even been touched. Go ahead.
Just to reiterate about the Sabbath, these verses they're just so I mean, you just want to tell everybody, don't work on the Sabbath. You'll die, you know, spiritually or physically. But here's the ones in Exodus that really, my heart is just to tell people this. But and Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, and you speak to the children of Israel, saying, my Sabbaths you are to guard by all means, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yahweh, am setting you apart. And you shall guard the Sabbath, for it is a set apart to you. Everyone who profanes it shall certainly be put to death. And anyone who does not work on it, and for anyone who does work on it, that being shall be cut off from his people. 6 days' work is to be done, and on the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest set apart to Yahweh. Everyone doing work on the Sabbath day shall certainly be put to death. And the children of Israel shall guard the Sabbath to perform the Sabbath throughout your generations as an everlasting covenant. And then it goes on to say it's a sign again, right after that. Mm-hmm. It just...
And then the Father says that's the one sign between him and us, the Sabbath. Anybody? All right, let's go to Joshua 2:1. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
I recently found in the books of Melchizedek, and I got to look it up first, but it talks specifically how, and this was written, I believe in the 3000 BCE, and it specifically talks about the Sabbath being the sign of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
Please bear with me. I'm slow. Well, if I can come back to it.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
What was that verse?
On the mic.
What was that verse that you were talking about? Get away from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you. Well, I just can't look at it. I'm trying to find it. Do you remember what it was? Matthew 10?
No, I don't remember right off my head, but I can find it for you. I will find it for you before you.
Well,
it's in Matthew. It's in the news.
Yeah, I thought it was 10. I look at that verse a lot differently lately than I ever did before. He said, many will come to me in that day, claiming that they've done all these great things in his name, cast out demons in his name and all this and that. They didn't even know his name.
No.
Is the key there that I found in that verse. They were using the name of demons to do this supernatural miracles and stuff. Never thought about that. But that's how much Satan has deceived the entire church-going, quote unquote, world, that they don't even worship our Heavenly Father Yahweh or Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
And they came and they did all these great things. How many times in that verse does it say, in your name, in your name, in your name? They were doing it in another name and unto another spirit. Just look at it a lot differently than I used to.
Go ahead.
Found it. It says in the 6th year, this is in the book of Melchizedek, one of the books. It says, in the 6 years of opportunity, Samael, the great deceiver, in a gesture of despair, will use all possible resources to prevent the realization of Yahuwah through his people. In opposition to the sanctification of the Sabbath, which is the sign of the covenant between Yahuwah and his chosen ones, numerous religions allied to impious rulers will impose another day of worship, not being able to buy or sell all those who remain faithful to the covenant of Yahuwah in those years of trials. In the book of Melchizedek, one of the books, which was also found in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah. Anybody? All right. Joshua 2:1.
Joshua 2:1. And Yehoshua, son of Nun, secretly sent out 2 men from Shittim to spy, saying, Go, see the land and Jericho. And they went and came to the house of a woman, a whore, and her name was Rahab, and they lay down there. But it was reported to the sovereign of Jericho, saying, See, men from the children of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land. And the sovereign of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, Bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land. But the woman had taken the 2 men and hid them, so she said, The men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. Then it came to be, as the gate was being shut, when it was dark, that the men went out. I do not know where the men went. Pursue them quickly, so that you overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof and hidden them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid out on the roof. And the men pursued them by the way to the Jordan, to the fords, and they shut the gate afterwards as soon as the pursuers had gone out. And before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof. And she said to the men, I know that Yahweh has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away because of you. For we have heard how Yahweh dried up the water of the sea of reeds for you when you came out of Mitzrayim, and what you did to the 2 sovereigns of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you put under the ban. And when we heard, our hearts melted, and there was no spirit left in anyone because of you. For Yahweh, your Almighty Sovereign, He is the Almighty Sovereign in heavens above and on earth beneath. And now, please swear to me by Yahweh, since I have shown you loving commitment, that you also show a loving commitment to my father's house, and shall give me a true token, and shall spare my father and my mother, and my brothers and my sisters, and all that they have, and shall deliver our lives from death. And the men said to her, Our lives for yours. If you do not expose this matter of ours, then it shall be, when Yahweh has given us the land, that we shall treat you in loving commitment and truth. So she let them down by a rope through the window, for her house was on the city wall, and she dwelt on the wall. And she said to them, Go to the mountain, lest the pursuers come upon you, and you shall hide there 3 days until the pursuers have returned, and afterwards go on your way. And the men said to her, We are released from this oath of yours which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land you bind this line of scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and unless you bring your father and your mother and your brothers and all your father's household to your own house. And it shall be that anyone who goes outside the doors of your house into the street, his blood is on his own head, and we are innocent. And anyone who is with you in the house, his blood is on our head, if a hand is laid on him. And if you expose this matter of ours, then we shall be released from your oath which you made us swear. And she said, Let it be according to your words. And she sent them away, and they went. And she bound the scarlet cord in the window. So they left and came to the mountain, and stayed there 3 days until the pursuers returned. And the pursuers sought them in all the way, but did not find them. Then the 2 men returned and came down from the mountain and passed over. And they came to Yehoshua son of Nun, and related to him all that had befallen them. And they said to Yehoshua, Truly Yahweh has given all the land into our hands, and also all the inhabitants of the land have melted away because of us.
Anybody? Here is another place where salvation depended on staying inside the house. What other time was it there? The Passover, when they left Egypt. They had to stay in the house under the blood. And they had to stay in this house if that oath was going to be in effect and they were going to be spared. I think sometimes we don't realize or don't take time to think about the risk this woman took. She hid those people on her roof underneath the flax. And if they had decided to search her house or search her place and found them, it would have cost her her life, without a doubt. Or if they had have seen her letting them down the wall with the rope, it would have cost her her life. It was not just a small thing that she was doing. She put herself at great risk in order to deliver these people from death. There had to be confidence in them that they were going to keep their word, or she would not have taken that risk at all. If she had had any doubt about them keeping their word and sparing her family. Anybody? Go ahead.
In this story, I mean, what happened or later on when they marched around the wall and the walls come tumbling down, but that section of the wall held firm. It did not come tumbling down like with the rest of it. So the Father's hand of protection is truly upon it, and when the Father says something will stand, it will stand. You know. So anybody inside that home was saved because that section of the wall did not fall.
Mm-hmm. Another good indication that the Father honored the oath that they took to her. Anybody? All right, Hebrews 3:7.
Hebrews 3:7. Therefore, as the set-apart Spirit says, today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, in the day of trial in the wilderness, where your fathers tried me, proved me, and saw my works 40 years. Therefore I was grieved with that generation, and said, they always go astray in their heart, and they have not known my ways. As I swore in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. Look out, brothers, lest there be any of you in a wicked heart of unbelief in falling away from the living Elohim. But encourage one another daily, while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened by the deceivableness of sin. For we have become partakers of Messiah, if we hold fast the beginning of our trust firm to the end. While it is said, today, if you hear my voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion. For who, having heard, rebelled? Was it not all who came out of Mitzrayim, led by Moshe? And with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose corpses fell in the wilderness? And to whom did he swear that they would not enter into his rest, but to those who did not obey? So we see that they were unable to enter in because of unbelief. Therefore, since a promise remains of entering into his rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to have come short of it.
Hallelujah. Anybody? I think is so important here. 3:8. Do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion in the day of trial in the wilderness. I think we have to constantly examine our hearts. It's so easy for us to pick up an offense or whatever, to build resentment, anger, bitterness in our heart, harden our heart, and disrespect or ignore what the Father's saying to us. And I think we can get our heart in such condition that it's hard to hear what the Father is saying to us. And even more than that, whether He's speaking to us or not, if our heart is so hard and rebellion against Him, against His Word, it's so important that we submit ourselves to the Word of Yahweh and diligently keep His Word. When you stop and look at it, that's the most important thing on this earth. That's the most important thing on this earth. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And we need to understand that it's by obedience, by the grace of Almighty Yahweh and His mercy. All of us at some time and point in our life have transgressed, and thank Yahweh for the grace and mercy that we have through Yeshua HaMashiach. But we are not to abuse that grace or mercy and expect it to just keep working for us. You have to submit yourself to Him. Either you are His child, His servant, or you're not. And if you are, then you are going to walk in obedience. And that's my burden today for much of Christianity, because it's not walking in obedience to the Father. They're trusting in merely one step of acknowledging Yeshua as the Son of Yahweh to deliver them. That's it. Once you've done that, you're there. I hear evangelists. I don't listen to a lot of evangelists, but I have heard evangelists, Billy Graham for one. You know, all you got to do is just, ask Him to forgive your sins and tell Him that you repent and believe in Yeshua, and you're on your way. Give us a call and let us know that you've done that.
He never called Him Yeshua.
Yeah.
Never.
Do what?
He never called Him Yeshua.
Yeah.
Billy Graham.
Yeah. No, He never called Him Yeshua. I understand that.
He was worshiping a different deity.
Yeah. Yeah, he used that other name. And when you're talking about the remarks He made about when Yeshua said, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity," or something, when I never knew you. When you said it was another name, could that be the name that the traditional church uses today?
It's a different deity. It's not just a name. It's a different deity.
Yeah.
If I may.
Hmm?
3 times in the scriptures that we have this given to us, that after Yeshua's resurrection, He told the disciples He was going to go back to be with the Father. And then they were concerned. They didn't want Him to leave. When will you be coming back? What will be the sign of your coming? What will be the sign of the end of the world age? 3 times we're told. And his answer was each time, be not deceived, be not deceived, be not deceived. Deception, deception, deception. That's His answer. Yeah. That's how massive the deception is in the world today.
Yes. Yes. totally in it. Anybody? All right. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Chapter 4, verse 1 is really something that, I don't remember hearing about in the Baptist church, but it says, therefore, since a promise remains of entering into his rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to have come short of it.
Yeah.
We should all remember that. And in fact, the lady that we talked to last week, it was right after service, so we were all, ready to go. Filled up with the Ruach HaKodesh, and that was a good thing. But she was like, well, we don't have to fear. Do you fear? And I was like, yeah, it says in Philippians 2, let us work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. But here is another one that says, let us fear, lest any of you seem to have come short of it.
That's right. Anybody?
If I may, as long as we're here on Rahab, may I speak something about Rahab that's really troubling me? Everybody says Rahab, and the next word that comes out of their mouth is harlot, because I don't believe that. Preponderance of the evidence of her life is not being disobedient, not being a harlot. It's just something to think about. Mm-hmm. And it was exaggerated to me by Brother Craig over here a little while ago when he said even that section of the wall didn't come down. I said, that's powerful too. I never even knew or thought about that. But her life, the preponderance of evidence of things that she said and she did, especially when you look at being an overcomer or an elect of Yahweh, Revelation 12:11, I think it is, gives us a blueprint how we're to overcome. And the final item in that paragraph is one that you brought up just a minute ago or so. It said, love not your life until the death, and she did not. Mm-hmm. That is not the indication of a person that's disobedient and a harlot.
There's been a question among the linguistics that word harlot could have been innkeeper. And to me that makes more sense than harlot.
Yeah, but some of the translations,
Yeah, I know.
Horror,
Right.
Just to get us screwed up.
I think the King James version particularly makes it a horror, But there's a big discussion and been going on for years whether that actually meant harlot or whether it meant innkeeper, And obviously I'm not a linguistic expert. I do some dabbling in the languages, but I don't deem myself no expert in it. Anybody else?
Well, that's kind of why I said the preponderance of the evidence of how she lived her life doesn't fit
Right.
with that.
It indicates that she found favor with her father somehow. Go ahead.
I would agree similarly, Paul. I think there's a chance that she was a former, if it is in line. The Hebrew word, is fornication. It seems to be in line there. But, there's a chance it was that she was that at some time in her past. And, just like our redemption stories, we have all sinned. And some of us, very strongly, like whatever our past is. And yet, if it's accurate that she was, I assume she wasn't then. And so, because again, she is totally trusting in the Father and fears and says back then, we know that Yahuwah, your Elohim, is the Elohim of the heavens and the earth. Like she's not just, her heart's not melting from the acts like everyone else and then not doing anything. It's kind of like that. She sees it and she trusts. And so there's a chance, if it's accurate, that it's tied to that sin or that lifestyle, that it was what she did in the past, and that she turned and feared Yah and trusted in him from that point, or sometime in her past onward, and never partook of those sins again.
Anybody else? All right. I want to remind everybody of the concert this evening, that Kellen will be giving a concert, and there will be some snacks, for everybody. But that's going to be at 7. And if everybody will come, I guarantee you, I think it will be be blessed. He has a good voice, and he has a way with worship. So, yeah. So it will be at 7 this afternoon. So if you are available, it would be a good thing to be. Anybody else before we close? Father Yahweh, I thank you for your mercy, your compassion, your grace, your kindness. Father, I thank you for all of my brothers and sisters that are here today. I thank you for most of all your Ruach HaKodesh and your presence with us by your Ruach HaKodesh. I thank you for your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, who made all of this possible for us to come before you, cleansed and free of sin. Father, you are so awesome, so merciful, so kind. I ask that you would place a hedge of protection around each and every one of us this day, that as we leave this place, no weapon formed against us can prosper, that your ministering angels would go before our vehicles, remove every obstacle, every hindrance from our path, that no incident would arise that would disturb our composure, except for your revelation along the way. So we ask that you bless us this day and keep us, that you make your face to shine upon us and be gracious to us, that you would lift up your countenance upon us and give us your shalom. And so shall we adorn the name of Almighty Yahweh. We say, Baruch atah of Yahweh, Melech ha'alam. Baruch atah of Yahweh, Melech ha'alam. Blessed be Father Yahweh, King of all the universe. Hallelujah.